Hello again. Welcome to SEC Baseball Predictions. We're going to preview, and each of us will predict the outcome on each SEC series. I cannot believe we're in week 9. Here's the order we're going to go in. We're going to do the 2 Thursday night series first. That is Missouri at Florida, followed by South Carolina at Texas A&M. Then we will do the Friday start series in this order. Arkansas at Georgia, Texas at Kentucky, Mississippi State at Alabama, LSU at Auburn, Tennessee at Ole Miss, Vanderbilt at Oklahoma. That is roughly in order of start times there. So with that, let's go straight to Alfred to kick us off with Missouri at Florida. Alfred, give us a health report and give us what you're watching in the series. We'll go in this order. We'll go Alfred, Jay, Graham, and then I'll wrap up.
Yeah, the Gators riding high after their midweek win over Florida State. They win that series, which is huge for RPI reasons and really season reasons. You beat your rival, which is always a big deal. They head into a stretch of SEC play that'll be pretty favorable for them, and that starts with playing Missouri at home in Condren Family Ballpark. The Gators with the usual culprits out. That includes Ty Evans, Cade Curlin, Pierce Coppola, Frank Menendez, and then Matthew Jenkins. These are usually the names, of course, you hear that are out for them or have been out for them for quite a while now. And as for Missouri, Jackson Lovich, good news for them, is probable for this weekend. That's really good news for them. I mean, that's, 75% of their offense, if I'm being quite honest. So good for them to get them back. But with that being said, I mean, this is a tough road trip for Missouri, and I don't think they're going to come out of here with a win. So give me Florida in a sweep, and I think the Gators are going to start to rebound in SEC play and start to get some wins together.
Is there anything more oxymoronic in SEC baseball than good news for Missouri? I mean, isn't that like the oncologist coming there saying, "Hey, good news, Jay, the tumor's not that big." So, I mean, yeah. I'll tell you a stat that jumps off the page. Missouri struck out 300 times. 300 as a team. They've walked 130. I mean, that's not a recipe for disaster. On this day in 1912, the Titanic set sail. Titanic thinks Missouri baseball is a disaster.
I think we'll know where you're picking in that case.
I'll tell you what I'm picking. I'm picking a fight with the TV deciders. Why is this game on twice?
Yeah. That's a good point. And by the way, I meant to give start times. Thursday, 6 Central, Saturday, 5:30 Central. Friday, 5:30 Central, Saturday, 4 Central. And the first and third games are on the SEC network. So, yeah, I think there's some better choices. I'm guessing this was decided before the season. Graham, your turn.
Yeah, I am taking the Gators. If you look at the injury report, like Alfred just went through, both of these teams are well represented on the injury report, but I'm still taking Florida, just their lineup. They got way more firepower than Missouri does, so I'm taking the Gators to take all three in this series. And, you hate to say it, but, I mean, Missouri, this is one of those teams where it's like your get-right game, like you play a team in any sport, and that's where you start to get your momentum and confidence back and get your stats up. And I just kind of think that's going to be this weekend for Florida. And we've touched on their schedule a lot here recently. This could be the start where the Gators just continue to roll and build momentum down the stretch.
I'm going to counterpoint a little bit. It has been bad for Missouri, and I get it. And in this league, when you're down a little bit, which Missouri's down a lot, the gap is huge. Hidden in some of the misery, particularly last weekend's Arkansas series, there's some good hitters in this lineup. You mentioned Jackson Lovich, Caden Pierre, Caden Nicoletto having nice years for Carrick Jackson. And this is a team that has been competitive a lot of weekends. We said Coppola's out this weekend, Alfred?
He is,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, look, they've still got McNeely, Barlow, Barbary, Philpott, Rodriguez, McDonald, Clemente, King. They've got a lot of arms, but Missouri's going to slip up and get somebody eventually. They're not going to win the series, but I'll take the Tigers to take a game here at Gainesville. And by the way, good point on Florida. The schedule gets a lot easier if Florida's going to make a magical run and sneak in the NCAA tournament like it did last year. it's probably going to actually need all three this weekend.
Mhm.
Next up, we've got South Carolina at Texas A&M, Thursday, 7 Central on ESPNU, Friday, 6 Central, Saturday, 2 Central. We'll go in this order: Alfred, Graham, Alfred, Jay, Graham, and then me.
So, not the most eye-popping series, I don't think. I mean, Texas A&M just coming off that huge upset series win in Knoxville against Tennessee. This is a really good series for them. You know, the weekend after, you're not playing an Arkansas or a Texas after you play Tennessee. You don't have these teams smashed together. They're really good ones. You have South Carolina, who, if I'm being quite honest, is better than Missouri, but the next tier up from Missouri in this league. And that's a little more of a gap, but if that's what I'm calling it, that's how this team has played so far. South Carolina 2-10 in SEC play. It hasn't been a kind stretch, right? Since the non-conference play when they only had 3 losses. But here we are. Injury report wise, Gavin Cash doubtful. He missed the series in Knoxville last weekend as well. So we'll see if there's any hope that he plays. It doesn't look too good for him. Dylan Eskew questionable for South Carolina, and then obviously Talmadge LaCroix, Nolan Naraki, and Eli Jersenbeck, the typical out ones there. And then same thing with A&M, right? Gavin Grahovic, the other one out for them as well. But series wise, I mean, this just doesn't. I just don't think this plays into South Carolina's favor that well at all. It's a far road trip to Bluebell Park, a really tough place to play, and a place that now has a pulse, right, with the fans that are going to be going there because of what happened last weekend. So that's a dangerous recipe. I'm picking the Aggies, and I'm honestly picking them in a sweep.
I agree. And I think I don't know if there's a team that's more dependent on a single dude in the middle of our lineup. And Texas A&M kind of flipping the switch, and especially in Knoxville, has happened over the last 2 weeks with not so coincidentally when Jace Laviolette has really started to mash baseballs. And I think he's sitting over 400 in the last month. And I mean, he's going to be a guy who's going to hear his name called real quickly come June. And with the injuries, he's been asked to carry even more of a load. And I think one of the things that maybe has frustrated him a little bit is how many different teams are now able to pitch around him a little bit more. I think he's averaging almost a walk a game, Graham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had 5 walks last weekend alone.
Yeah.
So I'm going A&M take 2 of 3. I just don't know. Sweeping anybody but Missouri is tough.
Mm-hmm. I look at this, and I mean, my first thought was like, it's this kind of a season for South Carolina. Like, to me, nobody's been more snake bit than them. And I say that because, you know, everybody was looking at A&M like, okay, they're not what we thought they were. You know, we got a chance to beat them. Well, now South Carolina gets A&M when they're on fire. Like they take 2 out of 3 on the road against the number 1 team in the country, and then A&M looked really, really good in their midweek victory as well. So South Carolina, you go on the road. It is a long road trip, as Alfred touched on, and now you're playing a super talented Texas A&M team that, I mean, have they figured out their identity and just, you know, turn the corner? You know, we'll kind of see. What's ironic is A&M, their starting pitching hasn't been the issue at all. And to me, they have the better rotation than South Carolina. And if their offense has figured it out for the Aggies, which it certainly seems like they have the last 3 games, I'm taking Texas A&M just because they have more dudes in their lineup 1 through 9 than when you look at South Carolina. Like, I feel like all we talk about is Ethan Petrie, who could play in any lineup in the country. And then like Nathan Hall has his moments as well. So kind of like what Jay was touching on, like it's way more challenging for Ethan Petrie because he doesn't have a lot of help around him. And then you got this A&M lineup, which is kind of clicking and kind of what we thought they would look like all season long. So I'm taking Texas A&M. I think they'll get 2 out of 3.
Alfred, give me the Carolina injuries one more time.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is Talmadge LaCroix, Nolan Naraki, who they pretty much have not had this whole season. Eli Jersenbeck, and then Dylan Eskew is questionable. I really, really would want him back if I'm a South Carolina fan at this point.
Man,
Yeah.
Alfred, that was great pronunciation, man. That the South Carolina injury list is not friendly to a Scrabble player. I mean,
No
what was
way.
that second one?
No. We got a Casmore, we got a Naraki, we got all kinds of names in there. But the names to watch, I think, are the three starting pitchers for A&M: Lampkin, Prager, and Patton. Now, here's one thing of interest. If this ends up being a sneaky good series, and again, I think you guys had great points on Petrie and getting pitched around. Outside of him, and Hall is in there this weekend, right?
Yes.
Okay, there's a big drop-off to the rest of the lineup. But Carolina's a predominantly right-handed hitting team, and A&M's going to throw three lefty starters out there. So you got Hollins and Scobie or switch hitters, and most of the rest of the lineup is right-handed. So you could see a little bit of platoon advantage in Carolina's favor. So just keep an eye on that just in case. But, yeah, I just think A&M has flipped the switch. Last four games, which encompass what? 2 midweeks in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
A&M's outscored opponents 49-14. It's starting to click. 3 of those games were in Knoxville, where despite the ballpark, Tennessee can really pitch. Give me the Aggies, and I think they're going to sweep this one. Okay, next up, let's go to the Friday series starts. We'll go Arkansas at Georgia. That one is Friday at 5 Central, Saturday 3 Central, Sunday noon Central. We'll go in this order with picks and preview. I'll start off. We'll go Graham, Jay, Alfred. So this time we'll go clockwise. I think this is a fascinating series. And when you get into handedness, Georgia's a very, very right-handed staff. Arkansas is a pretty balanced lineup. You got lefties in Davalon and Kojal, who just been tearing it up. Souza and Maxwell are in there too, but they got a lot of right-handed hitters, and they got some guys on the bench that can hit. Georgia is almost, well, it can be almost an exclusively right-handed hitting team. Now, they got some depth, and they can mix and match, and Wes Johnson, of course, is going to do that. Arkansas, I guess they're going Root, Beetleshees, and Gackle. Alfred, is that our best guess?
Mm-hmm.
Again, which is
That
kind of the
sounds right.
way they've been going.
Yeah.
And and they've still got some parts in reserve that they'll get back. So I think that'll be interesting. Georgia and Foley Field, where boy do they hit bombs, is really tough. And I think having righties against Root and Beetleshees makes it interesting. Having said that, though, guys, I'm still concerned about Georgia's pitching. They're good enough to outslug most teams in these games. But Arkansas does a respectable job of keeping the ball in the park. Home run rate around 2% as a team. It is tough to win in Foley Field. I don't know that I'd pick another team in the country to win in that venue right now. But they're playing what, in my mind, right now is the best team in America. We saw what Arkansas did on the road against a really good Vanderbilt team that can really pitch a couple weeks ago. Vanderbilt just couldn't stack up with them because Arkansas can really hit. And I think the pitching determines this series. I think Georgia's going to get its licks in, but I think it's going to be problematic for the Bulldogs facing an Arkansas lineup that's pretty deep 1-9 and got parts on the bench at the start for most teams. Give me Arkansas in a 2-1 situation here.
Okay.
Graham, you're up. Yeah.
Chris, essentially everything you said, I totally agree with. I think Arkansas is the only team in the country that I would pick to win a series in Athens. And it's because Arkansas, they're number one offensively in SEC games, and they're also top 2 pitching wise in conference games only. So just to kind of give you an idea of how good Arkansas has been. So as a team in SEC games, Arkansas is hitting 361. Ole Miss is second at 299. So that kind of tells you the gap. Arkansas, they are number one all across the board offensively in SEC games, run scores, hits, RBIs, home runs. You kind of get the idea. Chris, you alluded to pitching. Arkansas has only given up 10 home runs in SEC play. Pitching wise, Georgia's given up 21. I just think the lineup, both of these lineups are great, but I just think for Arkansas, they just got a little more firepower consistently 1 through 9. And also a big reason why I'm taking the Razorbacks, they've already gone on the road several times this season, and they've done this. They swept Vanderbilt in Nashville, and they took 2 out of 3 against Ole Miss and Oxford. All 3 of those, or 2 of those games were super close. I kind of think all 3 of these games are going to be, back and forth, and you'll see some fireworks, especially like in the 8th and 9th innings. I think it's going to be a fantastic series, but I'm taking Arkansas just because I like their lineup a little bit more, and I like their pitching a little bit more than what Georgia has.
I'm back. I'm not picking against Georgia at home. I'm just not. And I know Arkansas is the best team in the country. They're off to the best start in program history. They're 31-3, and every accolade is well deserved. And if you had to bet, here's betting, and I know the odds would be unbelievably high on any prop bet like this about trying to go into the weekend and pick who's going to be SEC Player of the Week. But I'm willing to bet a mortgage payment that the Davelin kid is salivating to hit Georgia pitching as a left-handed guy at Foley Field. Because all you got to do is hit a medium fly ball to right, and that thing's going to carry from Athens to Augusta. So, yes, I think the over-under in each game is going to be double digits. But I'm still taking Georgia to take 2 of 3 because I think they're pretty ticked off about what happened at Texas.
Very good point. Georgia 22-1 at home this season. That is pretty good, all things considered. The biggest thing, guys, another thing to point out, these 2 teams, two of the best defensive teams in the conference. Georgia is ranked, well, both of them are in the top 3. Georgia's ranked first. Arkansas is third, with Vanderbilt smushed in between at second. I think each game is going to be decided by a couple runs or less. I think it's going to be that close all the way. The fact that it is in Foley Field makes it a lot more interesting. I think, if this was in Fayetteville, we'd be looking at Georgia and going, uh-oh, kind of like that. But it's not. They get the beat back at home against this number 1 team in the country. I think I'm going to lean Arkansas, but I would not be shocked about Georgia honestly winning this series like Jay said. I just don't feel like I can't pick against the number 1 team in the country. They've been road warriors before. Graham said it with the Vanderbilt series. They went on the road to Nashville, swept them. Georgia is a little bit better than Vanderbilt, obviously, but you have that in your background, and I think Georgia does take a game. I think Arkansas wins 2 out of 3, but again, would not be shocked about the Bulldogs coming out and just beating this team in the series.
By the way, as a footnote, so you're taking Arkansas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's our first non-unanimous verdict so far. Did I read this? None of these games are on any channels. They're all plus games.
This is what Jay was talking on yesterday.
Thankfully, we're going to get that Missouri Florida tilt twice.
Yeah. I think we need to revisit some of how we do TV. Now, look, it probably doesn't matter. If you're an SEC baseball fan, you got the app, but you're missing a chance maybe to grow your game and your product a little bit by not putting it in front of people who maybe can pass by and aren't looking for it, just as an aside. Okay, we'll go. Alfred, did you have one more thing?
Yeah, I was going to say, is basketball happening? Is that why they're not doing it, or?
I believe basketball has passed.
Just kidding. I needed that little jab.
Absolutely, yeah. You feel about it the way I do. All right, we're going to start. We're going to go Graham, Jay, Alfred, and then we'll end with me on this one. Mississippi State at Alabama. I think another one where all 3 are on the app. Friday, 6 Central, Saturday, 2 Central, Sunday, 1 Central. Mississippi State in almost a must-win spot. And Alabama, you take this series, Graham, you got a lot of goals in front of you in terms of hosting and maybe even with the Tide's RPI getting a national seed. Start us off here.
Yeah. So just to kind of reset, Alabama, remember they're coming off the series loss at Auburn. They beat Southern Miss in their midweek game, so they got a little bit of momentum heading into this one. Mississippi State, they're coming off their first SEC series win at home against South Carolina last weekend. So these two teams are the closest geography-wise of any universities in the SEC. So I think you'll see a decent amount of Mississippi State fans make the short trip over to Tuscaloosa. I'm taking the Tide, and here's why. I just think they're going to, especially since it's in Tuscaloosa is a big reason why, but I just trust their offense more than Mississippi State. I would not be surprised, like if State wins the first game of this series with Pico. Pico, by the way, I looked it up. He's averaging almost 6 innings a start this season. Like that's how good he's been. Like if you can bank on somebody to go 6 innings, that's really good. Also, another reason why I'm taking Alabama, Mississippi State, they have the worst defense in the SEC. I mean, especially in conference games, like it's not really all that close. And when you play on the road, like you got to play as clean as possible. So defense has been an issue for the Bulldogs, especially the shortstop position. So I just think you'll start to see some of these bats come to life for Alabama, like Will Hodo, Cade Snell. We know what Justin LeBron can do. I just think that trio can just do a little bit more, especially at home in Tuscaloosa, than what Mississippi State is working with 1 through 9. I wouldn't be surprised if State gets 1, but I'm taking Alabama 2 out of 3.
I'm with you on that, but I also, the main reason I'm with you on that is Alabama has done an amazing job of really taking care of inferior foes. They are 20-1 against teams that are not ranked. And I mean, Mississippi State, when Pico's pitching, they look like a ranked team, but he can't pitch all 3 days. So I think, man, oh man, even short distances like Starkville to Tuscaloosa, and both of those cities have international airports, right?
Starkville doesn't.
Graham.
Let this man
getting
cook.
your nails done so frequently is probably starting to affect your. That was a touch of sarcasm there. However, I think playing at home is huge, and if your team's not built how your ballpark's built, then you're making a mistake as a coach, because you know you're going to play a majority of your games in the SEC in your ballpark. Build your team around your ballpark. And so it makes tons of sense that Georgia has a slow pitch softball team. It makes a ton of sense that Alabama is constructed this way. So even if Pico gets his job done, see, the pressure on Mississippi State is if you don't win Friday, you're staring at getting swept in just about every series in this league.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going with Bama.
I am.
Okay. Alfred?
Mississippi State away from Starkville this year in both away and neutral games is 6-8. They are significantly better in Doty Noble Field this year than they are away from Doty Noble Field. And I know this is a short distance, and actually there's probably going to be a lot of Mississippi State fans there. I mean, it's like what, an hour, right? Something like that. It's not
like an
that
hour.
far.
It's like an hour 20.
Yeah. So you have that, but at the same time, I think, Alabama is going to look to bounce back eventually. They've kind of hit SEC play, guys, and they hit like a lull a little bit after just crushing everybody in non-conference play. Graham, you bring up a good point. I do think you're going to see bats like Will Hodo and Cade Snell wake up a little bit more. Their batting average dropped as a team, and by dropped, we mean dropped to just below 300 hitting as a team this season. So that's not anything too bad. Justin LeBron, get ready to watch him a lot. Both fans of both teams. He's going to be awesome this weekend per usual. I think Alabama takes 2 out of 3. I could see Mississippi State sneaking in a game like the Pico Cone game maybe, but I have a hard time thinking they'll win the series in Tuscaloosa. So give me Alabama 2 out of 3.
Chris, what real quick before you go, one thing I'm meant to touch on: Mississippi State has given up the most stolen bases of any team in SEC games. Like they've almost given up 30 already.
Ooh.
Now that's not really a strength of Alabama's, but I am curious to see if Alabama tries to steal more bases this weekend than what they normally do.
Yeah. Fowler's got 10, Bonamalo's got 12. Those would be the guys to watch. I'm just going to unpack some interesting notes here in no particular order. Alabama's lefties are really tough. You've got Fowler, Hodo, Snell, Mizell, Brady Neal. I mean, some of those guys aren't having great years. Neal's not, and, Hodo's had his moments, but they've got a lot of balance. One of the State's issues is after Pico Cone, the guys that do most of the damage other than Hungate, well, actually, he's a righty too. You just sort their innings pitched in order. Cone is number one in the staff on innings pitched by a mile. He's a lefty. The next 8 guys are righties. So that's something to watch. The defense you mentioned. And here's a weird thing with State too, guys. You would think that game ones would be when they're really strong. They have lost, 3 or 4 game ones so far. Although, to be fair, Texas at LSU, at South Carolina were the 3 they've lost. That series was in Columbia last weekend, right?
Starkville.
No, it was in Start Vegas.
Oh, Starkville. Okay, never mind. Well, in any case, that makes it a little bit worse. But point I'm getting at, I think State can win the Friday night matchup just because Pico Cone has been that good, striking out 38% of the hitters, giving free passes just 7% of the time. Alabama is going to walk a lot, and they don't strike out a lot. State gets a lot of its outs on strikeouts too. I just think for the series, everything here, including home field, seems to favor Alabama. But I think State gets the Friday and Alabama comes from behind, takes the last 2. Which brings us to LSU at Auburn. Jay, I'm going to let you run point on this series. Then we'll go Graham and then Alfred and then me.
I'd be curious on how the narrative would have changed if Auburn could have held a lead late in the middle game against Alabama, and they were coming off a sweep. But the emotion of that is going to translate to this. LSU and Auburn, it's not the Iron Bowl. Nothing is. But LSU and Auburn don't like each other either. And that baseball series is always – it's been since I was in school there. It has been not only sold out, but emotional and electric. Tickets on the secondary market are already north of $50. You can get in cheaper than that for standing room only. But, I mean, this is SEC baseball here, guys. I mean, we're talking about – parks are almost always selling out now. The electricity is everywhere. As for these 2 teams, one – this is just the start to maybe college baseball's worst scheduling nightmare for Auburn. Don't they play 3 of the top 4 teams in the country over the next 4 weekends?
That looks to be true.
So you got to and Auburn has been eye-popping. I mean, I think – if you look at the SEC, a lot of the usual suspects, we expected them to all be good. The 2 biggest surprising storylines in opposite directions are Texas A&M and Auburn, in my mind. I mean, Auburn's number 9 in the country, for Pete's sake. That said, all right, side question for the group here, too. Is Cade Anderson and Sam Dutton the best Friday night pitching matchup of the weekend?
Ole Miss, Tennessee will have a conversation.
Yeah, they will.
That one for different reasons. I mean, your candidates would be I don't think Jared Spencer or Nick McKay is on that level. Cone and Zane Adams on the right night could be. Tennessee, Ole Miss, Vandy, Oklahoma, Thompson and Witherspoon would be in the discussion, but I think that one takes the cake, Jay.
Well, and with that, though, just the depth, and we were praising Arkansas, rightly so. But LSU's balance is just as impressive in terms of being able to just throw it and hit it. Still, I'm a sucker for the home team. I'm taking Auburn takes 2 or 3.
Ah, okay. Let's see. We got up Graham. I think, let's go you next.
Okay. What a fascinating series. I'm leaning towards LSU 2 out of 3, and the reason why is pitching. Just when you look at some of their arms, Cade Anderson leads the SEC in strikeouts and SEC games. He's got 4 more than Liam Doyle. Ianson is third most strikeouts. And then to me, the difference between LSU and Auburn, LSU has guys like Evans on the back end, who's got 3 saves in SEC games already, and then Cowan. Cowan's ERA is below 1 in conference games. So that group of arms is a big reason why I'm taking LSU. Auburn's, I think they're going to get 1. I think the crowd's going to be outstanding. I think you're going to see Auburn break some attendance records this weekend, especially if the weather cooperates. And then offensively, I just kind of think some of these guys are going to have big weekends for LSU. Like, what's it going to look like for somebody like Chris Stanfield? You know, a homecoming of sorts for him going back to Auburn. He's been really good as of late. Like, he had 4 hits in 1 game last weekend. Like, how will he handle that emotionally, you know, coming back? But I just think Dickinson, Bear Jones, just guys like that, I just think they're going to be too much offensively. I just think LSU will get the timely hit. And once LSU takes the lead, I mean, just with the pitching they got, I just think it's going to be too much for the Auburn Tigers. But I do think it's going to be all close games.
Another transfer story, Sam Dutton, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's playing his former team Friday night and has a chance to really shut them down. And if you want me to pick one, I think that kind of motivation may get Auburn a win in this series. The thing that sticks out, though, is what Graham brought up, is bullpen versus bullpen here. And I think LSU just has more, you know, when you kind of put them side by side. The Tigers also, well, I shouldn't say that in this series. The LSU Tigers have been on the road for a while now. Obviously, the road series against Oklahoma, and then this midweek against Nichols, they were on the road for that one as well. So they've been road warriors this year. And in fact, games away from Baton Rouge, they are 9-11. Let me double check myself. Yes, 9-11 in both road and neutral games away from Baton Rouge. So they've been good everywhere. I'm gonna go LSU here, but I do think Auburn gets a game in.
LSU hadn't lost 11 games.
Yeah. What?
No, 9-2. They've played 11 games away from Baton Rouge. Sorry if I misspoke about that.
No,
Was that 11 away from home? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
5-2 true road games, and here's what those have been. That's been at Texas and at Oklahoma. So yeah, I think we start with the Friday pitching matchup, as Jay highlighted. I mean, when you're making SEC Pitcher of the Year conversation, both Cade Anderson and Sam Dutton are going to be in it. I think that Friday night matchup is super interesting because Auburn, the bulk of its good hitters are lefties. That's McMurray, Fralick, Bellew. Bellew, I always mispronounce that, so my apologies. Bub Terrell, Ike Irish, who's come back from injury with a vengeance. All lefties, and Lucas Steele, who's heated up a little bit lately when I've watched him switch hitter. So that seems to neutralize a lot of what Auburn could potentially do if Anderson's got traditional platoon splits, and I haven't looked that up for full disclosure. Auburn, I think that the Dutton angle, how emotionally prepared is he to handle his old team? LSU's better hitters are right-handed for the most part. Curiel's a switch hitter. Milam's a lefty, so there's your exception. So I think the pitching tilts pretty heavily on Friday night. To gosh, I feel like Auburn's won most of the Dutton games. And sorry as I talk through this, but it is a more interesting series than I would have thought on paper just going in, because I think LSU. I could argue LSU is the second best team in the country, but Dutton in game one situations, the only one they have lost is that 4-1 at Georgia 2 weeks ago, which is super impressive in this league. So there's that. I think
Auburn's kind of, and Chris, before you make your pick, Auburn's inconsistency both in the bullpen, as Graham noted, but kind of like the up and down decisions about not having a true three.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm not saying Sam Dutton's the best one in this league when you've got a Pico Cone, you've got Anderson, you've got Witherspoon. I don't know if there's a one in this league who faces more gotta have Friday night pressure than Sam Dutton.
No, I agree. And here's how, if you're Auburn, here's how you piece it together. You get a Sam Dutton outing from Sam Dutton. Carson Myers, who's a lefty, gives you something which he's done all year. Cam Tilley, righty, has been really good. Petrovich, Parker Carlson are both righties and that have given them a lot out of the bullpen. Ryan Hetzler's been pretty good for them. And they just got back their closer from Creighton, whose name escapes me. The chat will know it, so excuse me for that. So that helps too. And LSU, we've talked about LSU's really weird pitching situation because Anderson, Ianson, and Cowan, even though Cowan's not a starter, I think for my money, that is your best three in the conference. Shores is super talented, flashed a little bit last week. It could pop for him at any time. And then Case and Evans out of the pen is about as good a shutdown guy as you'll find in the league this year. Question becomes, if you have to get 4 or 5 more innings from somebody else, do you trust the rest of the guys right now? There's talent there. The results have been spotty. But I think you can say the same for Auburn. One reason I filibustered this a little bit was just to allow myself to talk through it and make up my mind. I'm going LSU, but Auburn winning the series would not shock me. So do we all go LSU here?
No.
Except for Jay went
Okay.
Auburn.
Okay.
Another note for Auburn, they need Guevara, like they need him to make an impact. He's missed a lot of time this season. If he's remotely healthy, that could be big for Auburn.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have got Tennessee at Ole Miss, Friday 6:30 Central, Saturday 4 Central, Sunday 2 Central. That one is on the SEC Network. Although, boy, that Friday game needed to be on TV because, boy, Graham, and you're going to lead us off. We'll go Graham, Jay, Alfred, me. That one is going to be spicy.
Yes, I'm anticipating it to be chippy. I mean, we all have eyeballs. We know what Tennessee likes to do, so that part isn't going to surprise me. Just the new wrinkle is just the Ole Miss transfer, Liam Doyle, and then Andrew Fisher. So what do I think is going to happen? The last time Tennessee played at Swayze Field, they swept Ole Miss. That was a couple of years ago. The first 2 games of that series wasn't very close at all. Ole Miss had a chance late in game 3, but Tennessee was able to win it late and sweep. Would you guys be surprised if I told you Ole Miss leads the SEC in strikeouts pitching-wise in conference games?
No, I wouldn't.
That I'm gonna be honest. That surprised me a little bit. So that kind of caught my eye. I'm leaning Tennessee, even though I don't really feel good about it, and I'm taking Tennessee just because I'm the emotional aspect of it, which I think that's going to be a big key this weekend for both teams. Like, who handles that a little bit better? I kind of think for Tennessee, you're just going to see them rally around Liam Doyle and Andrew Fisher, especially Andrew Fisher, since he's going to play in every single game this weekend. So I kind of think that's going to be their motto, just like circle the wagons, that kind of a thing. And they're also bouncing back from the series loss against A&M. So everybody's anticipating Tennessee to just kind of like hit the reset button. I think they're going to do some things well, but I mean, the games are going to be close. I don't think it's going to be what we saw the last time Tennessee came to Oxford and just not really competitive. Ole Miss, they lead the league in walks offensively. So the way this Ole Miss team is built, they get a lot of walks and then they just hit a lot of home runs. They don't really manufacture runs. They're towards the bottom and sack flies, sack bunts, all that. They really, really lean on the long ball. I think you're going to see a lot of home runs this weekend. I think this just has all the works to be, an all-time classic. Ole Miss has already played Arkansas at home, so you kind of got a taste of like a high-level SEC team coming to Swayze Field, what that's like. Ole Miss very easily could have won that series against Arkansas. Again, I think it's going to be close. Lot of storylines. I'm fascinated to see what, if anything, happens. I don't think there's going to be a fight or anything like that, but I think the crowd's going to be locked in and engaged from the get-go, especially when Andrew Fisher is at the plate. But I'm taking Tennessee. I don't feel good about it. I think they'll take 2 out of 3.
Do you think the umps will talk to each side before game one?
Yep, but do I think that's going to matter? No.
I don't either. I also think that we can debate about who's the best coach, who's the best tactician, who's the best teacher, who's the best recruiter. All those things different and can be just a matter of perspective. I think there is clearly no coach better built to go into the emotional cauldron that is going to be Oxford than Tony V. It would not shock me that the first close call, he goes out there and he may get run. He's gonna figure out a way rightly to make himself the lightning rod to take some of the heat off the 2 kids you referenced, Graham, that just transferred, and all the side stories about Fisher calling other players saying y'all should leave Oxford too, and everything that goes on with it. And that's just good leadership in my mind, honestly. And it'll be calculated, and it may even look, I'm not going to say hokey, but it's like a good basketball coach seeing his teams flat and getting teed up. I mean, Norman Dale walking out there and going, "What do you got, pigeon bleep in your eye? Okay, I didn't have the best angle. Throw me out of the game or I'm going to start screaming like a lunatic." I guess you got your reasons. And then here comes Shooter, and next thing you know, Shooter's drawing up the picket fence, and then the Hoosiers are clicking, right? So then it's the avalanche. And I think Friday is huge. I think if they get to Liam Doyle early, Ole Miss sweeps. But I think Liam Doyle's going to deliver, and I think Tennessee takes 2 at 3.
I'm going the same way. Tennessee 2 out of 3. The Vols away from Knoxville this year, both away and neutral games, are 8-1 overall. That one loss, of course, came at Alabama. It was their first loss, or not their first loss of the year, the first SEC loss of the season. That series, I think, tells a lot. That's kind of the one I look to when looking at this Ole Miss one, was how Tennessee played at Alabama. Remember the crowds for those games, guys? They were the biggest crowds Alabama's ever had for baseball, it seemed like. Expect similar things in Oxford, I feel like. But that being said, Tennessee has, shown that they can win in the SEC on the road. They did it also in South Carolina as another, road series they won. And I like this team to bounce back. I mean, they had an awful Saturday doubleheader, and statistically in the SEC, they dropped to only 2nd in pitching and then I believe 3rd in hitting. Yeah, so there it is. I mean, they didn't drop that far. They're still one of the better teams in this conference. Give me the Vols 2 out of 3. I do think because Ole Miss is at home and they're going to be jacked up and energized, they're going to take 1. But I like Tennessee to bounce back.
Hey, Chris, before you go, I think this is the appropriate place to mention this. We all feel pretty comfortable that in the final rankings, Tennessee is going to be a top 15 team in the nation, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you had to bet on it.
Water's wet, the sky's blue. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That would mean in this academic year, Tennessee will have finished top 15 in football, basketball, women's basketball, and baseball.
That's softball too. You can count softball.
That is a staggering run of success. Danny White, you're pretty good at what you're doing, sir.
Yeah, I could argue he's the best AD in the country. Anyway,
the best results.
yeah. Before I give my pick in a little analysis, I'm going to throw this one to you just for fun, because you guys have all picked Ole Miss. You've all picked Tennessee. Better chance that Ole Miss wins the series, or there's a bench clearing brawl at some point in the series. You have to take one.
Ole Miss wins.
Okay.
Guys, like I'm telling you, like I've been around Mike Bianco. Like he's been the head coach now for 25 years, longest head coach in any sport in the SEC. So since I was in middle school, he's been the head coach. You see him around town all the time. Heard him speak countless times. That's not the way that he is built. Like he hasn't done anything remotely like this. If something like that happens, I would be stunned. Like stunned.
You guys? Stunned.
I don't think there's going to be a fight, but I think Fisher may get one in the back.
Yeah. You really don't see that very much in college baseball. I'm thinking of the bench clearing situations. I know you had one in the NAI this week. You see some at JUCO. The SEC, I'm thinking the last one we saw would have been maybe Mississippi State and Georgia 2 years ago.
That was a play. That was a play at the plate. I mean, it's kind of a different.
It was
like a 40-minute review too.
But the point was they're really rare, to the point where that was almost 2 years ago. It may have been 2 years ago, and it sort of sticks out. So I think you guys have the right call, but it's going to be interesting because I think this one is going to be chippy. I thought Tennessee, like one of the two easiest things we've done in our power rankings coming into last week were setting one. I felt like Tennessee was clearly the best team in the country. I mean, I say clearly. They hadn't played a lot of teams that could take them to the brink yet, but felt like eye test best team in the country, and Missouri the worst team in the league. And I feel like we've been able to set that for a while. And A&M, I don't know if that was of an indicator of a crack or just a weird thing that happens in baseball sometimes. Because, like, I remember Mississippi State, when it won the national title, I think lost a series to Missouri, last regular season series. So point is, you sometimes see stuff that you don't see coming. We'll see if that's just a blip on the radar or it's something else. Number two, and our buddy Sam Smith has brought this up in the chat, and I think he's right. And I'm going to add my opinion and kind of mix in what he said. Vitello's last three teams, I still think the 22 team was maybe his best. The 23 team was a weird one. The 24 team was the one that won it all and took home a lot of hardware. I think 22, the roster construction 1 to 5 and the talent, I still think was a better team. I think this team has gotten on my radar as a team that's as good or better than any of them. And then again, the last week thing, I don't know what to make of it yet. Mm-hmm. We'll see how it plays out. But the one thing that Sam brings up, go ahead, Graham, you got something.
Well, I was just saying, like, I know, and Alfred knows this too, but like that's a big conversation among Tennessee fans. Like, I like to phrase it like that 22 team, probably the most talented team. It's not the best. Because like part of what happened with the 22 team, they played on like level 50 all year long. Baseball's too hard. It's too long of a season. You can't be on edge playing on level 50 all season long. And so what happened? They lost to not the greatest Notre Dame team at home in the Super Regionals. You know, like when Ole Miss made it to Omaha and won the whole thing that year, everybody was dreading, like, oh boy, we're probably going to have to play Tennessee at some point. And then they didn't even make it. So I think Tony V, I think he's just learned a lot since then, like pushing buttons. And again, you can't be on edge. And just play like that all year long. So I kind of think he's learned a lot. You know, he's still relatively young. Like he's been a head coach for under a decade. So, I mean, he's always going to have talent. It's just, you got to get lucky. You got to get breaks here and there, but also you also got to figure out what works, what doesn't work emotionally with your team.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going to go next. I think what made them so great last year is they were able to regulate their emotions. I thought that was a more mature team than the 22 team was on the whole. And I thought ultimately that was the difference. I thought the 22 team with Dolander and Burns and Beam, just that rotation alone, not to mention the lineup was tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
I think where they got where they needed to go last year was ability to maybe have better leadership, keep your cool, and that's why they got there. I think, to me, the litmus test of how Tennessee handled this emotionally, because boy, they're going to hear it on Fisher and Doyle. Like, how do they handle that? How do they regulate their emotion? I'm almost watching that more than I'm watching the series. I think ultimately to the play on the field and the talent in, I think the issue for Ole Miss, I just don't think there's enough pitching depth outside their top 5 or 6 arms. Tennessee's got arms coming out its ears. I think they can mix and match a little bit better. No, it can't be, but it does you well in a 3-game series. So I'm going with Tennessee because of pitching depth, and I'm going to give them the benefit of that on handling the emotional stage. But this one, I never in a million years. I mean, I guess we could have said the Doyle Fisher angle would be interesting, but I didn't think the series would be worthy of this much discussion. So,
Yeah.
In summary, hats off to Mike Bianco for getting his team here.
Final thing, Chris. Do you guys remember where Ole Miss was picked preseason by the coaches?
Last or 15th?
Second to last.
Yeah.
So safe to say Ole Miss isn't going to finish 15.
Yeah, and if he keeps it up, he's going to be in that Coach of the Year conversation, I think, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
Okay, last one, we got Vandy at Oklahoma. I'll run this, then we'll go clockwise, starting with Graham after me. Vandy at Oklahoma, Friday, 7 Central, SEC Network. Saturday, 4 Central. Sunday, 2 Central. I think the headliner will be the Witherspoon, Kyson Witherspoon, J.D. Thompson matchup on Friday night. Right now, I just trust Witherspoon to win that one a little bit more. Thompson is more pitchability guy. And sometimes that works for him and sometimes it doesn't. If he can command his stuff, it's got a chance to go pretty well. But I don't think he's the overpowering guy like Witherspoon is, and probably a first-round guy. The problem for Oklahoma after this is I think that's where the pitching really starts to separate. Witherspoon, Crossland, Cam Johnson, here's how many runners those guys have been giving up per inning: 1.85, 1.74, 2.14. Now, where they make up for it a little bit is Jones and Crooks. Hensley hit. They got a good bullpen, but I worry about the starting pitching. I think Vanderbilt the pitching has kind of gone under the radar a little bit in the defense because, A, that's not what's in fashion, and B, they spread it out. They don't have a David Price. They don't have a Kumar Rocker, but they've got some really good arms. And Boker, Sawyer, Hawks. Neither team is elite offensively. They're both going to bunt and run and challenge you. So if you like your small ball, here's 2 teams that are going to do it pretty well. Like the way Vandy looked last week in Gainesville. I know Florida struggled. I'm tended to favor them. Here's the interesting thing. Oklahoma's lineup predominantly lefty. After Friday when Thompson starts, their best arms are Boker, Hawks, Kranzler, Cyber. So the platoon, oh boy, the more I look at this, the platoon does favor Oklahoma a little bit with all those lefties. Taki, Christensen, Gamble, and they got a couple of switch hitters in Willits and Walk. Man, I was going Vandy till I saw that. I'm going to flip my pick, but there's a lot of uncertainty there.
Is it me?
It's Graham.
Graham, okay.
So you just switched your pick, Chris? You went.
I'm going Oklahoma. I was going Vandy coming into this until I looked at all the lefties.
Geez, are you really? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm taking Vandy. Number 1, they are at home. Number 2, like they've already been in these big series already this season, and they've won them. And a big reason why I'm taking Vanderbilt, like if you guys looked at the numbers for Oklahoma, especially in SEC games. I think we're at a sample size big enough. You kind of got an idea of what a team will look like. Oklahoma is either dead last or second to last in several, as in more than 5 offensive categories. So their last 4 games, they've had 5 hits or under, and they've not really scored a lot of runs as of late. So Vanderbilt's pitching is really good. They got one of the better bullpen arms as well. So I'm leaning with the Commodores because they're at home. They have their identity. Both of these teams kind of will do the small ball stuff, but I just think since Vanderbilt's at home, they're going to be able to take care of business. So Oklahoma, again, welcome to the SEC. Enjoy the Vandy Whistler this weekend.
Actually, Graham, you may see the Vandy Whistler, but he's going to have to travel to Norman. So does that change your mind? Yeah.
Okay, okay. I was thinking that this was in Nashville. No, it doesn't change my mind. I'm still taking Vanderbilt just because, again, they're one of the teams. They've been on the road the most of anybody in the SEC, going back to their non-conference portion of the schedule. So I don't think the crowd is going to be hostile by any means. Like Oklahoma, they've drawn under 1,000. The past handful of conference games. So I just think Corbin's been there, done this. They got really good pitching. Oklahoma's top heavy pitching wise with Kyson Witherspoon. I'm still taking the Commodores.
All right, a couple things. One, I'm taking the Commodores too. And if they can figure out a way to scratch out Friday night, it wouldn't surprise me if Oklahoma's tailspin continues. I don't know if we discussed it in the midweek or not, or even in the review show, but the thing I read had Oklahoma didn't even score an earned run against LSU. Now, they scored 4 in losing that series last week, but none of them were earned. Vandy is maybe the best team in the league about not giving you anything and taking everything you're going to give. And that's going to serve them well this weekend. A little bit tangentially here, Oklahoma's spring football game is this weekend, which should help the crowd a little bit, Graham. But shouldn't baseball always schedule home series or schedule the spring football game when you've got a home baseball series? I mean, does that make a whole lot of sense for more people milling about on campus, more people saying, hey, let's go to a baseball game. Okay, cool. The light bulb went off and been meaning to bring that up for a last couple 3 shows, but it just makes a lot of sense.
That's a good point, Jay, but you get unless I can't think of any, the only SEC team I know that's having one is Vandy, right? A spring football game?
Might be. And there's this Saturday when
nobody
else
is really doing one.
Well, I think did Oklahoma cancel theirs? I thought their spring day was this Saturday the 12th.
I just saw someone rant on Twitter about them in their spring game being like, season tickets are going up and you're giving me less and less. Yeah. So I think that might be because they're not having one, although I can't be sure.
Common theme in the sports world is a fan. Fans get less and less and the costs keep going up.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go ahead and give mine for this series. I'm trying to think. Jay, you're taking Vanderbilt, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm doing the same thing. I'm taking Vanderbilt, guys. Oklahoma's been at home for a while, and they're going to continue to be at home. They played LSU, obviously, last weekend at home, and then had Dallas Baptist in the midweek at home and got crushed. Dallas Baptist, in the 2 games they played them, outscored them 25-1. Not a kind matchup between the Patriots and Sooners for Skip Johnson's team. The thing that concerns me is that they just haven't been good, and they've been at home, and nothing's gone their way really. And I don't know how that's going to continue against a pitching staff like Vandy that makes me smile when I watch them. That's my way I describe them. It's a really good pitching staff. I enjoy watching them pitch and whatnot. And I know maybe it's not LSU's, but it's like getting close to being right underneath it. So. Yeah. I'm going to go Vandy. If Oklahoma wants a true shot at this series, and they absolutely can have a true shot at this series, you really have to get a win with Kyson Witherspoon. I think that's going to be key for them, especially with the matchup being J.D. Thompson. So that's the one thing to watch if I'm an Oklahoma fan. But give me Vanderbilt in this series, and give me Vanderbilt 2 out of 3. I think Oklahoma will take a game.
The more I look at this, by the way, I want to add something to what Jay said. Oklahoma was pretty dismal offensively last week, and you had two things going against you. You had elite pitching, which that doesn't make you feel any better about what you see this weekend. But it was also like, I think wind chill was maybe in the 20s at some point in the series, and the wind was blowing in strong. So that it was an outlier. Now, look, where Oklahoma plays, you could see that again. And Vanderbilt will be a team that's used to it. I think Friday here is key, guys, because Thompson is their lefty, and we talked about that lefty lineup. If they flip that matchup, they win that series. Gosh. Do I flip the pick or not? Because the more I listen to you talk, the more I'm just unsure.
I say yes, flip again. Keep flipping.
Get your politician on. Flip flop.
No, I'll stick with it. My first instinct, I don't even want to know my first instinct before we broke it down was that Vandy takes the series. You know what? I'm a couple behind on you guys anyway.
More than a couple.
Screw it, I'm gonna flip. Give me Vandy, so it's a sweep.
Okay, so and by the way, Jay, I looked it up. Oklahoma, it is their spring game, but there's not a game. It's
right.
Like NFL Combine.
Yeah, it's replacing the spring game. I may have misread it a little bit, but I don't know. I've already discussed the spring game. The spring game should be Oklahoma should be playing, I don't know, anybody in the state of Oklahoma. There'd be junior colleges lined up to come play a scrimmage, and you could give tickets away and create so much goodwill. Because, Chris, you're right. And this is a tangential, and I know we're on the Southeastern 16, but it's a great story that came out of college football over the last couple of weeks. Did you guys see that Coastal Carolina is going to give away free concessions at football games this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that anything you can do to create goodwill with your fan base, especially in the era of NIL, especially in a time when you want to put the hook in these kids as young as they can go. Mm-hmm. And I mean, for those of us who are dads, if your kid looks forward to going to a football game, one, you love that because you look forward to going. But they then get free nachos, and they think that's the coolest thing in the world, or a second Coke, and it's free. I mean, that is just brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. You'll never see an SEC team do that.
No, God, no.
Too much money left on the table.
Yeah.
All right, we screwed up. We lied to you. We didn't mean to lie. I guess it's not a lie if you don't mean to mislead. We made a mistake. In our excitement over Arkansas and Georgia, we skipped over Texas at Kentucky. So let's wrap up with that one. We'll go Alfred, Jay, Graham, and then me. Alfred, lead us off here.
Yes. Yeah,
and before you do, game times 5:30 Central, 11 Central, and 11 Central, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The last two all on the SEC Network. Carry on.
The thing I'm looking for injury-wise in this one, obviously we don't have that report yet because that series starts tomorrow, but will Adrian Rodriguez be back for Texas? I think that'll really help them a lot. Texas fan, if you know something I don't, please comment below, if you have any news on that. But nonetheless, that's one thing I'm watching for injury-wise. Texas guys, true road games, undefeated. They haven't lost on the road in true road games yet. Jim Schlossnagle has done a good job of making sure they're locked in when they're away from Austin. And then if you want to include the neutral site games in there, they're 5-1 in those. And of course, they have those two trophies from those invitational tournaments at the beginning of the year, that they won and whatnot. So they've been good. Point being, they've been good away from Austin. Kentucky had that series loss last week against Ole Miss. Pretty frustrating. Right, you were at home, you were in all these games, you were leading all these games, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were leading all of them, and it kind of goes to the wayside for you. So they're looking for revenge, and this is just a tough opponent. to look for revenge against. I'm going to go Texas here, and I still think they remain undefeated on the road. I think that highly of this team. I really think that they hit the ball that well. I think they're going to be able to pitch with Kentucky, with all Kentucky and throw at them with Ben Cleaver and whatnot. So give me Texas, and I know it's a little outlandish, but give me them in a sweep in Lexington.
I think Kentucky will be good enough to find a game, but I'm with you, Alfred. I think Texas's ability to just lean on a pitching staff, and Chris, I'm not going to steal your thunder, but their Sunday starter may be the best in the league. And so if you build it around moving backwards, you feel good about what you have. You can maybe overextend a little bit on Friday night, especially on the road. If you feel really good about your 2s and 3s, and Texas really should. So I'm going to take Texas 2 or 3, but it wouldn't shock me if you're not spot on, Alfred.
Yeah, I'm taking Texas 2 out of 3, mainly because of their starting pitching and their bullpen. So in SEC games, they got the best ERA in the SEC, and they have given up the least amount of hits, and opponents are only batting .220 against Texas pitching. Their offense more consistent than Kentucky as well. I mean, I could see the series being close because that's just what Kentucky does. Like, Kentucky reminds me of like when you play like Navy or Army in football and they run the triple option, and it's just so different than what you're accustomed to that it takes a minute to get adjusted to it. So Kentucky, they'll keep it close. But I think Texas is going to take 2 out of 3. I guess my question is, will it be 3 weekends in a row where the series ends weird and you'll have the head coaches screaming and yelling at each other?
Great point. Boy, we've got a lot of extracurricular stuff that we put you on notice for this weekend. Yeah, one thing I look at, guys, is runners allowed per innings pitched. ERA can be a little wonky. You can, you bring your ace reliever in, and the 3 guys you left on base with no outs don't score, or he gives up the big hit and they do. So I look at runners per inning allowed. Texas is 1.3 on the dot. Kentucky, against I think an easier schedule, has been 1.46. So that's a difference of, I don't know, 2 or 3 base runners a game. I know Texas has played without Blue, but it hasn't seemed to matter so far. They have played their best ball against the elite. I think the game to watch here is the Ben Cleaver game for Kentucky. He's capable. He's been tremendous. Again, we got a lot of blue chip aces in this league, and he's one of them. But to add to what I went to with the runners on base thing, a lot of Texas's has been in midweek games. That's where they're stumbling their toe, is when they have to get into pitchers, 8, 9, 10, 11. When you start looking at Jared Spencer, Ruger Riojas, Grubbs, Volantis, Bing, Flores, the guys that we're probably seeing, Duplantier on the weekend, Texas allows less traffic.
Yeah.
Where does Kentucky win games? They create traffic. Also, the weak spot for Texas is pitching. It's just been keeping the ball in the ballpark. That's not what Kentucky really does. So give me the Longhorns here. And gentlemen, boy, I didn't know we'd go an hour and 8 minutes, but we have. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. We love our baseball. We try to come prepared. So anyway, for all of you who watched, thank you for doing that. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to check out our audio platforms. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can get these there too in audio only. And when you're there, leave us a rating and some nice comments. That helps our traffic there as we're trying to grow that audience. Always looking for sponsors. We're growing quickly at the channel, so email me at chrisley70@gmail.com if you're interested in that. For Graham Doty, Jay Greeson, Alfred Esmond, I'm your host, Chris Lee at Southeastern 16. Thanks for watching. God bless you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again starting with Friday night recaps. We'll probably start that around 9:30 or 10 Central, so hope you'll tune in for that. Again, have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.